Welcome to episode 2 of the Athletic Development Show. We have a very special guest today, Maddie Garrick. Maddie is a 3-on-3 superstar, plays for Australia, a Melbourne Boomers favourite and veteran. I think it's six years, Maddie, with the Boomers you were?
Yeah, 6 years.
And also star of Baller Beats, which we will provide links to on Insta, which has some awesome ball handling shenanigans. She's a true pros pro and a graduate of the Core Advantage internship program, as well as. And are you now a graduate from Deakin Sports Science? Are you done? Is that degree complete?
Yeah, 2018. That's well in the past.
Well, hard to keep track. Yeah, also has a degree from one of the best sports science universities in the world. Heaps to chat about today. But the first thing is you are stuck in a shitty situation in quarantine, which is hard normally. But tell us the story of what it's like to be quarantining after having really such a disappointing near miss of making the Olympics, because the build-up was incredible. And it must be tough just being stuck there for 2 weeks.
I mean, it's always tough having a loss. Obviously, when you're in a season, you generally have time to think about it during the week, train, and then get back and play again. But yeah, it's been. I'm not against actually kind of just sitting there with your thoughts too. Like, it's just really sitting. Am I allowed to swear on the podcast?
Yeah.
Can we bleep it out? All right, great. Just wanted to make sure. So, I like to think about it as sitting in your shit, pretty much. That's something that I've kind of learned over the last few years in terms of, not pushing things aside, just allowing yourself to feel certain things. And obviously, this is probably the biggest opportunity that I've had. It's been a dream of mine since I was a young girl that started basketball to play at the Olympic Games and, visualized winning, visualized going to the Olympics, all that sort of stuff. And then obviously, elite sport, it can just be taken away in a few seconds. So years of practice and training just to kind of fall short in the last game. So I, as I said, I'm not against sitting there and thinking about it. It's still, it's still pretty raw. It's probably going to hurt for a little bit, but it's now, I've had a few days to focus on, what's next. You can't always sit there and continue to dwell in the past, but you can make that and turn it into energy and, motivation for the next thing.
That's great. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine, like, if you miss out on the Olympics and you were, and I'm sorry this is poking a wound here, but I'm just curious. If you miss out on an Olympics and you're probably going to finish like 20th at that Olympics and you miss out, you're going to be gutted. But if you miss out on an Olympics where you know that you were a chance for a medal, where there's teams that are going to medal there that you know that you can beat, that must sting extra, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing that really hurts the most, because there's, as you said, there's teams in there that we've played before, we've beaten, and yeah, we absolutely had a chance to win a medal. But I think just we hadn't played together in 2 years, and we sat there before the tournament started and we said we don't want to finish this tournament and have excuses. So we wanted to just go out and battle, give everything that we had. But then there's, the reality of it that we hadn't played together for 2 years. And we were only starting to find a little bit of form, but it just showed in the Spain game that they were just, more well polished than we were. And that's just from experience and practice. But I'm super proud of the girls. I can honestly sit here and say that we gave everything that we could. There wasn't, anything that we can kind of put at fault in terms of our desire and our hard work and how much we wanted it. It just, that's just the nature of elite sport. And had we had more time together, we could have, it could have gone either way too, but we probably would have had a better chance at, just that chemistry piece and knowing what to do in, pressure situations.
just that sort of read and react, that stuff that you just can't get anything unless you've got that timing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was distracted by a phone in the background.
Oh my gosh, sorry, that's just the welfare people calling, just doing the daily check-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That ability, that split-second reactions of knowing where someone's going to go, and then being able to pass the ball to where, like, to passing the ball to where they're about to arrive, like all that kind of stuff. If you had time together, you can be a 10% less talented team, but if you're able to do that, you're hard to beat.
Yeah, and that's emphasized a lot more in the 3x3 version because it's very much read and react. It's very quick. It's only 12 seconds. It's just so quick. So just those things you get from playing and training. And we had a few training camps as well. We had 3 training camps this year, which was really great, like a pre-departure camp and then 2 camps in months leading up to before we left. But there's nothing like international experience, like playing different countries, because everyone has a different playing style. You've got different talents, different, all different sorts of people and experiences. So, yeah.
I'm really interested in different playing styles, because in 5-on-5 it's very obvious, like there's the Asian playing style, which can often be quite different to how Americans, and there's European, and then there's Aussies. For people that might not be basketball experts, can you tell us all about what the difference? So, and also, I always call it 3-on-3, but that's like old man talk. It's 3x3 now. Is that?
It's 3x3, yeah.
3x3. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us all about the differences. And I mean, so it's an Olympic sport now. It's a big deal. It's taking off around the world because it's really fun. What are the big differences between 5-on-5 and 3x3?
It's funny because I have a lot of people ask me, like, is it really that much different to your traditional 5v5? And it really is. It's just, as I said before, it's half court, it's 12-second shot clock, it's the scoring system is first to 21 or 10 minutes, whatever comes first. And if you go into overtime, like if you tie it at the end, you go to overtime, it's first to 2. So a 3-point in traditional basketball is only worth 2, and every other basket's worth 1. So, and with the nature of how...
So a 3-pointer is worth double a regular goal. So they're more valuable.
Yes, absolutely.
It's only worth 150% of a regular goal in 5-on-5.
Yes. That's good math.
I just did math. Did everyone see that?
That's really good. It could have been wrong, and I still would have agreed with you. But no,
well, I know. We got Mace listening, and he's got my back on this kind of stuff.
So it's just it's way more physical. So like a normal foul in basketball, in 3x3, you're not going to get many calls. You could, you can. It's just it's so physical. It's so fast. We kind of explain it to people, particularly other Australians, is it's like the big bash of cricket. Like it's just a really fast version of basketball. But it's super exciting. It's pretty much where it's come from is street ball. That's where the ideas come. They said from the streets to the Olympics. So it's all about street ball rules pretty much.
Yep.
And yeah, as you said, it's going to be at all Olympics and Com Games now.
It's so exciting.
And
it's so exciting for me, for you as well, because I think it's brought out a side of your game that was always waiting to be unleashed, which was attacking the rack. Because you're one of the best athletes I've ever worked with. But earlier in your career, you were an amazing, pull up, jump shot, incredibly good on the 3-point line, but you weren't as hungry to go to the rack and initiate contact. Whereas you just kind of have to in that game. It's been good for you, hasn't it?
No, it's been amazing in that sense, and you're right. You can't hide behind anyone because there's only 3 people, or there's 4 people in a team, only 3 on the court. You have to be able to have all the skills offensively and defensively, and on the offensive end, be able to get to the rack through contact, obviously, and be able to shoot the 2 ball.
Do you call it the 2 ball?
As you which you just pointed out before, is a lot more valuable in the 3x3 game. So transitioning back into the 5-on-5, it's helped me to work on my skills, but also be more of a physical player and have more opportunities to go to the rack too. So it transitions nicely back into that 5-on-5 game. But yeah, I love playing it. It's definitely, I think you have to have a little bit of a niche for it. I don't think everyone is suited to the 3x3 style. You have to be able to have a little bit more freedom and flair. I was going to say swag, but you know, same.
Well, the swag comes because of the flair.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, it's definitely something that I love, and I can be more of myself playing the game.
When I watch you play, it's like the game was custom designed for your skill set. So, you know, your ability to hit like really good 2 balls off the dribble, and you know, that sort of step back and all that stuff where you're creating your own space and then hitting that shot. Like, that's exactly what you're good at, and it's exactly what that game rewards. And if you're good at that, they've got to come up on you, and then you get past them. It's great. I want to dive into the actual tournament itself, but before we get into that, I'm curious about, it's more physical, but I would have thought intuitively, we've talked about this in the past, but I would have always thought intuitively that it required less fitness, because full court, you're getting up and down a full court, and you're only staying in the 3/4 court, so you're not actually going up and down as much, but it's more fatiguing.
Oh, it is the fatigue that you feel, particularly in your legs, like that deep burn lactic acid, is incredible. Just you don't often get that. I'm not saying you don't get it in 5-on-5, but you don't get it as much. And just because it's so quick, it's so explosive, and even just being physical all the time, just having to like push up on someone and try to stop them and give them a little. You can give them a little hip and shoulder as well.
Yep.
Like just trying to brace. Like when we had our training camps, it was the first time that we had you know, specific training camps for 3x3 leading up to Olympic qualifiers. And within the first 2 days, like just your abs and your back and your shoulders, just from actually just tensing all the time and just banging up against bodies, regardless of the movement, like, you know, trying to explode to get to the ring, and that just trying to brace for contact. Like your whole body just hurts because it's just not something that we're conditioned to do if you haven't played 3x3 before. But then you add in all the explosive movements on top of that, how quick it is. It's just like a 10-minute sprint pretty much, with a lot of jumping and a lot of wrestling.
So it's sort of got more in common with boxing and wrestling. Like it's almost like sort of an MMA level of that really fatiguing, that really dead in the body sort of feeling. Whereas up and down a court, you can kind of you can catch up your breath a little bit more. And there's times where you don't have the ball and you can just relax a bit more.
Yeah, there's times that you can, and you could speak to anyone who plays 5-on-5, and they're like, oh yeah, you can definitely have a break on defense, or like you can, you know, just jog down the court a little bit. But yeah, 3x3 is like
no disrespect.
If you stop for a second,
used to watch Andrew Gaze. And you think totally you'd see him, he'd be having a little rest. So he can
every smart basketball player, you know when the good moments are, and you can always fake it. Like you can always kind of fake if you're playing a hard defense on split line or something. Just a little tip. But
very good. Tell us about the tournament itself. So you missed out by 1 point against Spain?
I think it was 2 in the end.
2 in the end?
I think it was. I think they hit a foul shot with about 2 seconds to go. We were in foul trouble, so we were down 1. And they hit a foul shot and just didn't have enough time to kind of try get a 2 ball up. But the tournaments, 3x3 tournaments, they're so much fun. They're just like a festival vibe. They've just got this. It's just completely different to traditional basketball. Like it's just fun. Like as I said, it's real street ball, real festival. There's hype around it. It's fun. It's exciting. And depending on what the tournament is, you might play 1 or 2 games a day. With these sorts of tournaments, we sometimes have a day break in between, and you're like, oh, you're only playing like 10 minutes and then you get a day off, but it's like you go hard for 10 minutes. And your training sessions only go for about 20 or 30 minutes. So you're not on court for that long. But again, you're just building up so much fatigue and stuff that by the end of it, you just, even 20 minutes is hard. Most of the time, you're just going through plays and just doing some shooting. But
so you still, so I want to get off this because I'm just indulging my own curiosity. I don't want
to. No, fine. That's fine.
I feel like, Darren, we already know all this stuff. You do have some plays still that you run.
Yeah.
So it's less structured, but there's still plays.
Yeah, probably this time around we had more plays. It just depends on. It's so different in 3x3 because you could go in with a game plan, and then it could change like that, and you're not allowed to speak to your coach at all. If you do, you get a technical foul. So it's like tennis.
Really?
You're not allowed to communicate with your coach at all. But you can still hear them from the stands, and we have code words and all that. But yeah, we have little wrinkles out of some plays, but a lot of it is just read and react. So you have your set plays, particularly off dead balls. But if it's just kind of in transition after you get the ball off a make or a rebound or whatever, we have like a transition play, but it's read and react. So there's so many wrinkles out of it. If they do this, then we do this. And we just kind of put that in before we left. So we were learning on the run.
I'm glad you explained what a wrinkle was, because I was like nodding my head wise, like, yeah, I've been in basketball, I know what a wrinkle is.
It's just like you have a set play, but there's so many different options that you can do out of it.
Cool.
Depending on what the defense does. So there's option A, but if they're playing this way on defense, if that's taken away, then you've got option B, but it's still within one overall play. So we just call those ones wrinkles. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Maddie. Good.
That's all right. It's like a little menu.
Yeah, cool. Gotcha. So this is probably a good segue into talking about you've had what excites me for your future is that I've never seen you more kind of bulletproof in terms of your mentality than you have been the last 12 months or so. And I like how you're talking about being able to just learning about yourself and what works. What have been the big things that have helped you get to that point? Because you've had difficulties in the past, like you've talked in the past about, various struggles. What's got you to this point where it's just going so well from that side of things? Because if that side of things is right, I think like everything else will end up looking after itself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think over the years that was something that I'd been working on. I had struggled, and like I'm not saying now I'm perfect. Like I'm not a master of my mind still, but I just had the desire to. Well, first I had the realization that I was, my own biggest enemy. Like I was the one that was holding me back. And so I think with anything, you can't change until you realize things yourself. Like you can have someone say, you need to do this, and this, but you're like, I don't believe that, or no, I don't need to do that. But it's until you have those realizations yourself and like, oh, I know, actually, no, that is me. Like now I can change that. So, yeah, I had a few, I went through an eating disorder when I was younger. I had a few other personal struggles and stuff that made me like had no choice but to go and seek help and talk about things and learn a little bit more about myself to get better and all that. But I think there was the biggest change was probably actually in COVID last year. I was just sitting on the couch and I just kind of had this moment. I was like, I just need to like do more, like do better, do more, like just that's it. Like I just need to get stronger here and just go out and get it. And I can't really explain a lot more than that. That it was just kind of this moment. I was like, I'm just sick of like kind of nearly getting there, but then caring about too much about what people think, and then jeopardizing how things might turn out. So I just had this thing, and I just kind of went after it. And it's probably from having those personal struggles, and whether that's internally or other things in personal life, was just kind of like, you know what, I need to go out and get it. And so probably COVID last year, I just had a bit of I felt a massive mental change, and amazing. Now I'm obviously with my partner, Sophie, and she's helped me in that space.
Right?
Yeah. She's helped also.
She's got like 6 different businesses. I can't even follow what she like.
She's just so incredible. She's really amazing. And I think for me, like, it made me more comfortable because she kind of owns what she does, who she is, what her passions are, and then, you know, being in an environment, being with a partner who's like that only allows you to do the same. It's somewhere where I wanted to go, but I just, wasn't with the right person, or I wasn't in the right environment. And I talk about this with my a few of my coaches. We talk about having blossomers around you. So, you know, they say that you're the product of the 5 most people that you spend your time with. And blossomers are people that make you feel more comfortable, that make you want to blossom pretty much in whatever you want to do, personal life, normal life, sporting life, or whatever it is, career. Those people that are really in your corner and really kind of build you up without not expecting anything back. They're just like those true people, and they make you blossom. So just surrounding myself more with those people. And obviously I have one of them as my partner. I have a lot of people, like, you're a blossomer as well. You just want the best for people, and you have, you know, you get so much joy about helping, or from helping people, and then you can see them grow and stuff like that. So that was another thing, just shifting my environment internally within my mind, but also externally with the people that I surrounded myself with.
That's great. You've always been one of the most professional athletes I've ever worked with. Like, you are off the chart for your professionalism. Where did you have to go when you looked at, like, you know, you were saying like time to kind of level up? You had that epiphany. What were the changes? So obviously there was just an attitude to self-confidence and sort of, I imagine, backing yourself in tight moments and stuff. But were there other things that you were maybe where were the other upsides that you found where you weren't as professional as you now are, or if any?
I think for me, like, my professionalism came from not being the best, from wanting to be better, not being satisfied where I was. And I think that having all the struggles that I've had, whether it was in my basketball personal life, as I said before, like, I got to a point where, in the worst moments, where I got to a point where I had no choice but to level up, pretty much, like go seek help, or just work harder. And I just I do believe that now, looking back, when I was going through my eating disorder, I hit absolute rock bottom. Like, that was the worst place I'd ever been at. 15 years old, that was rock bottom. And what it helped me do and create was create this amazing work ethic. I can never do that right without getting tongue-tied. So to work, even when I was in it, even though it's a mental illness, I had this work ethic as well. And then when I was recovering from it, I had a work ethic to get better. Like, I went from where I was, and I was like, I never want to feel that way again. I just worked so hard to get to the opposite side. So that gave me a really good base of where I wanted to be in all parts of my life. And having been through that kind of put me back behind a lot of players. So then I had to work my way towards trying to make a name for myself. Even now in the WNBL, I feel like I'm just starting to make a name for myself now, even though I've been in the league for a handful.
That's not true, people. Not true at all.
I know, but that's just the way that, I view it, because I'm never.
I think jersey sales would beg to differ. But anyway.
But just because I always want more. I want more. I still want to be better. There's still things that I haven't achieved that I want to achieve. And that's the driving force behind it. And, I see people going to the Olympics or playing in amazing teams and doing amazing things. I'm like, I want that. And I haven't been there yet. So that's where I'm never satisfied. I always want to do more and be better.
Do you know, I'd never joined the dots on that with you, because there's a thing I talk about called, have I talked to you about Shaq Syndrome?
No.
Okay. So Shaq Syndrome, after the famous basketball player Shaquille O'Neal, who was genetically incredibly gifted, massive hulk of a man, and just so talented, but underperformed based on the talent given to him. And I talk about couldn't do foul shots, for instance, which is kind of an important part of basketball. I talk about Shaq Syndrome as being those players that are so talented that every team just begs them to come play for them, and they never actually they don't taste rejection. They don't feel like they have to chase anyone, because they spend their entire life as a downhill skiing front runner. And it often happens to people over 7 foot, because they're just such a rare beast.
Can't relate.
And but also you can have smaller players with lesser. It's on a continuum, like whether you've got Shaq Syndrome or not. It's not a binary thing. And often it can be that the more talent you have, the more comfortable your pathway to success will be. So you don't have to chase, because again, you've got that genetic talent or that skill talent that keeps you a bit ahead. Whereas for you, that experience as a youngster, setting you back, having to chase people, that was probably a really formative thing, wasn't it? Like, that was a really beneficial thing, because you've got that. It kind of gives you that bit of competitive mongrel that you mightn't have if the journey was easier. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why I think it's, as much as it's been hard to go through anything, like in and out of life, like no one wants to go through bad times or feel terrible or whatever. But when you look back, it's the way you kind of bounce back from that and how you kind of turn that into motivation. And that's kind of, my format now. It's like, I never want to feel that way, or just being rejected from teams or not making squads or whatever. That's just the motivation to be like, you know what, I'm going to work hard, so you have no choice but to at least look at me next time. And whether or not, I make it, then at least I know I've done everything that I can to do it, and then it's out of my hands. I just know that I've done everything that I can to do what I can.
You're not what ifing. Like, as long as you don't say what if, then it's all good, I reckon. Yeah, exactly. So the downside to all this is that I'm very sad that you're taking your talents to Bendigo for a new start there, which I totally understand. You were at Boomers for a long time, and sometimes situations will be that you move on. It's going to be weird in our family, like, who do we barrack for in Boomers v Bendigo games? It's going to be very, very strange. But tell us about your team there. You've got a pretty stacked team, haven't you? So it's a pretty promising season for you.
Yeah, we are putting together a pretty good team. I'm excited to be playing with someone like Leilani as well.
She's amazing.
Yeah, we had a joke the other day that I was like, oh, at least she won't steal the ball off me this year in a game. But no, she's great. I've never played with her before. I don't really know her personally because, I've never been on a team with her, but just from watching her around the league and watching her play with the Opals and in the WNBL and stuff, it's going to be really great to be in a team with someone like her, and then just the other talent that we're putting in around that as well. But yeah, it's going to be weird for me too, not being in Melbourne. Not just the Boom itself, just Melbourne in general. But I think it was just a good time in my career where, as you said, after 6 years, it was just time for me to do something different, a change of environment and different voice, different teammates, just challenge myself a little bit, and hopefully just kind of release any sort of leftover shackles or ideas or thoughts about my game. I just really want to kind of start fresh, but from where I already am. That makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
cool. So we'll be cheering / booing. So we'll see you
can go for the team that's got yellow in it.
All right.
There you go. That makes you feel better.
So I want to talk about your coaching camps that you're thinking about. But before we dive into that, what do you reckon makes? I think a lot of what we deliver is what we wish we got delivered. What do you reckon makes? Oh, and secondly, one of my sort of pet projects for 2021 is getting strength and conditioning coaches to focus more on the coaching side of coaching, because we're obsessed with the programming side and the sets and reps and look at this intricate periodization model I created, and we're maybe not so strong on the actual coaching part of the coaching. It's more the prescription, particularly if you've done an exercise science degree, as you know, like you do a degree and you've spent so much of your time on the physiology of and all that side of it that's where you put your love and energy. Tell me, what do you reckon is what makes a great sports coach? First,
I think the first thing for me is the ability for a coach to be able to speak to or know the personalities, styles of each individual in a team. So if we're talking about a team sport, so being able to realize how they take feedback, at what point, how much they can, you can push them, how they handle certain situations, what their ability is, and knowing what's lacking and what they need to work on. But it's more knowing how to talk to each individual and how to do everything that you need to do in a training program, and knowing when, as I said, to give them feedback at the right time, how strong that is, because everyone has different personalities. Everyone takes feedback differently. Some people might get really defensive in the way that they receive feedback. Other people might have the same feedback but take that on board straight away. So it's almost like knowing a little bit more about the psychology of personalities and how athletes work as individuals, or that particular individual, and how you coach them. Because the coaching is always going to kind of be there. Like the prescription's always going to be there. It's just how you can deliver it to each individual.
Yeah. Would you ever want to be a team basketball coach? It seems like such a hard job to me.
Oh, I've had a lot of people say, hey, you ever got to do coaching? And like, honestly, right now, I don't think I would be a good head coach. I think I would be a good assistant coach, but in terms of a head coach,
assistant coach.
Yeah. In terms of a head coach right now, I just think I'd be too stressed. I don't know how to, do everything. But look, with anything, if you want to do it, you can always become great at something if you work hard at it. But I don't know if I would want to be a head coach, but I could see myself as being an assistant coach. But for me, I get more, particularly right now, more enjoyment out of doing like individual coaching rather than like a team thing or small group things. Because there's a lot on your plate when it comes to
and so you're doing coaching. A bit of that. So you've got a website now, which we'll link to as well, and so you've got your own sort of side gig where you're doing that kind of coaching, teaching all the tricks that because for those that haven't watched Maddie play, just go Google Maddie Garrick and your YouTube will come up and you'll see. I was trying to teach my little girl who's 9 some basics of basketball, and I want to teach her a crossover, because that's a really, if you get a crossover right, that's going to help with a lot of stuff. And so I googled
it definitely helps, yeah.
Definitely helps. And I googled like top 10. I just did top 10 crossovers of all time, and it came up straight away with a bunch of NBA men doing amazing crossovers. And Amber just turned to me and she's got, I need to see a girl doing this, like I'm an idiot. And I was like, yeah, okay, Maddie Garrick. And I pulled it, and then she got to see you doing it, and she was like, right, this is cool. It was really cool. But tell me, how are you doing all that? So one-on-one small group sessions, how does that all work? Are you taking on a limited amount of people? How does it all
just at the moment, kind of anyone. We're in lockdown at the moment. I'm in hotel quarantine as well, so I've been doing some online Zoom sessions. So cool. It started again, COVID, or this time last year, so many people were not able to play basketball, which meant that they didn't have access to courts or coaches as freely as they had been. And so, I had a few people reach out to me, hey, do you have any tips and tricks or drills that, my son or daughter can practice or I can do? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this website out there. If anyone wants to do any basketball training, like I'm sitting here not doing anything. People are sitting there not doing anything. Like it's just everything. I can work with people. So obviously, if we're in lockdown or if they're interstate or just not able to kind of go into gyms or whatever, I do some online coaching. It's also basketball and mentoring. Cool. And then obviously when we're out of lockdown, I've just been doing some training sessions as well, individuals, but also small group sessions.
So your handles are amazing. Like your ball handling is off the chart. What do you and that's not like it's not as common on the girls' side to be as good at that as you are. Were you always like that, or was that from a young age that you were really into ball handling, or did you come to it later? And how did you get so good at it, I guess, is what I want to
know. Probably a bit of a combination of both. But the biggest influence on my game has been Damon Larry. He's kind of taught me the way to move like that. So I obviously had kind of this
raw... So Damon was a professional point guard, played in the NBL.
Yes.
College as well, I imagine, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I should know this. He's gonna kill me. Nah. He's just like, look, just put it down. He's amazing. He's just so amazing, and he's also, he has also taught me the psychology part of basketball, but also psychology part of life. So the way he kind of explains things to me is like the psychology of a move. Like rather than we just do this crossover because you need to change hands, it's kind of like, all right, we do this move as a setup, and then if they do this, this, and this, then you do this. So it's just like a different way. So it just completely changed my mind and my physical game. But as a kid, I just had this raw, young, natural talent. So it was there. And then I think, again, when going back to eating disorders and stuff like that, I was like, I just need to work hard. Like I had a coach say, you need to do ball handling 5 minutes a day. So for years and years, I'd be outside doing the same routine every day just to, and then it probably was about, I was around 15. I started to see like the drop off of, which unfortunately is just a trend in women's sport as well. They drop off around between kind of 13 and 15. But I saw the difference between all the years of practice that I had done in terms of my ball handling and people who were just going along with just their raw talent. And so that just gave me inspiration to keep working harder. And it was just always feedback that coaches would give me from camps or training sessions. You just need to work on your ball handling or just work on your left hand. And so then I just do everything that they said I would need to work on. So it was a bit of combination. And then I met Damon about 7 years ago, and he just completely changed it into something amazing.
Yeah. And how much practice do you have to actually put into it to be? Because you're literally a world class dribbler. How much practice does it take to be that good?
A lot, a lot.
Yeah.
What do they say? It takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. Yeah. So for me, I just go out and do 5 minutes of ball handling or just do something. Like I get like anxiety or stress if I don't touch a basketball for a few days. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have the touch. Like I'm such a touch person. Like you can really feel it if your handles are working or you just feel in tune. But yeah, I'll say, I'll just go out and do 5 minutes and I'm out there for an hour. Like I just get into a groove so that, and it's not about like more is more all the time. Like you talk about in the gym, it's about the quality of what you're doing. And also the same coach that said, you just got to do 5 minutes of ball handling a day, said, if you practice something, if you do this practice, don't practice bad habits. So don't go out and practice being doing it half paced. Like practice doing it game speed. And that was just something that stuck with me since I was 12 years old, pretty much. So anytime that I either am in the gym, if I'm doing ball handling or I'm shooting, like everything is quality. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, you put in one of the greatest off seasons in the history of my career. Watching you, what year was that? 2016 or 2015, where you decided to take a year off from, because mostly in WNBL, the women will play the season and then they'll also play in what's now called NBL 1 in the off season. And you made a decision to you had a pretty extensive soft tissue injury history, and you said, you know what, I'm going to take a year off, get strong. And you attacked that like an animal, and I think you put on, was it 4 or 6 kilos of muscle and increased your strength by 30% in about 6 months.
Yeah,
like you just went after it. And that was the same thing, wasn't it? Like every time you arrived in the gym, you were like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to really do this. I'm not going to sort of go through the motions.
Yeah. Especially in off season too, because I just knew that's when the time where you make those the increases, because obviously when you get to WNBL or your top season, you're just in maintenance mode pretty much. So I just knew every time that, and you're right, like I had a lot of soft tissue injuries, and I was like, I just need to get them right. So we pretty much just stripped things back, went to basic, isometric hold type stuff, and then build up from there. And it just had a huge impact on the game. And I've always felt if I feel strong, then I play strong as well.
Yeah, no, you crushed it. I want to ask you some S&C questions.
Oh gosh.
Firstly, how much do you think having done a sports science degree helps you as an elite athlete? Because I think it's a clever move.
I think it's it was awesome to be able to do that, just to even just have a little bit more knowledge of around why we would do particular exercises and how it works, what muscles are working. If I'm a bit tight here, then what might be compensating, and just being more aware of my body in terms of tightness, weakness, injuries, even training loads, just being more having a holistic awareness of my body in general. I think that certainly helped with decreasing injuries after that, other than ankle injuries that most of them, landing on people's feet, you can't really control that. But after I had that off season from doing my exercise sports science degree, I didn't really have a lot of other injuries. It was just mainly my ankle from that.
You had a really good run, apart from bloody Sinead Greaves crunching your crunching your shoulder.
A few AC joint injuries. So again, most of my injuries have been things that you can't control. Yeah, doesn't matter how much rehab or prehab that you do or strength. It's just the nature of the injury, like landing on someone's foot or landing a certain way. But it gave me great awareness, and I could then feel if something was tight, it wasn't because of flexibility. It's like, I need to work on this muscle because I get this pain when it's not activated properly. Like just little things like that you might not have awareness of just as a kind of normal athlete.
That's great. I'll never forget, early in my career, I was working with a player. She was the captain of the Dandenong Rangers back when I was there. And I remember it was my first season, so it was 2003. And I was 30 years old with a full head of hair, but not a clue inside my brain. Like, it's useless. But I remember being really impressed with how Ali spoke. She could speak physio, like in the same way as you can speak a language, she could speak physio. So she would say to the physio, it's a little sore on the distal end, and there's a trigger point on the medial aspect of the calf. Like she could actually And the physio would go,
Yeah.
cool. Like, it was just like, it was so much more efficient.
Yeah.
Like having a Formula One driver that also knows how the car is built. Like, it just makes everything so much easier. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely back that. Like, even when I go into physio, like, I know why I'm going in there. I'm not just going, oh, I'm a bit tight here, I'm not sure what's going on. It's like I'm having pain down my hamstring or like in my hip because of my glute med's tight. Like, can you just chuck a few needles in there because that worked? And it's like, yep, no worries. Like, you just, very efficient with even the recovery side.
Follow-up question. So strength and conditioning coaches, athletic development coaches, we're a funny crew, and we often are very obsessed with the marginal things, with the tiny little things, and can lose sight of the forest for the trees sometimes. I'm really curious to hear from you. What do you think when we are at our best in our role? What do you think that we're good at? What are the good S&C coaches, athletic development coaches, bring to the table? I'm thinking we have a lot of listeners who are young S&C coaches, just kind of getting going, and it'd be interesting to hear from an athlete about how they should try to be.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm obviously speaking from a basketball perspective too. Like, our game's changing all the time. Like, it's getting more athletic. It's a different demand now. Like, it's faster. It's more athletic. So I think from S&C, and it's kind of, we've talked about this before too. It's like you want the basics, that, your staple exercises and your staple strength and that, but kind of being able to mix in, particularly in this day and age, exercises that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they're the staple exercises, but throwing in things that are flavoursome but not detrimental. Does that make sense? You explained it to me once really well. I've obviously remembered how you said it.
I remember I was obsessed with, like, I have a perfectionist personality, so I want to make everything perfect, which is and the great irony is that if you're a perfectionist, the only thing you can guarantee is that you will compromise the results you're chasing. Like, that's that's the only thing you can guarantee. But I would talk about how workouts were like meals. So they can be, a meal should, number one, be non-toxic. It shouldn't kill you, and so should a workout should be like that. Number two, it should be nutritionally valuable. It should actually offer value that helps. But number three, it needs to be tasty, because if it's not tasty, no one's going to eat that meal. And it took me like approximately 17,000 hours of coaching to work out that I needed to make my workouts more tasty. Because I was like, no, but this is the best boiled chicken breast you're ever going to eat. This is the perfect broccoli. And you're going to eat the same meal every day, and you're going to love it because it's the best. And I was realizing that you got to mix in a little bit of spice. You got to find ways to disguise the fact that you're serving healthy food and make it taste a bit more like a burger sometimes. It's that variety as well, isn't there?
So no, absolutely. And I just think, like, with everything in life now too, like, people want the new iPhone because it looks like this, or they need to get the newest this and that. So I think there's a trend in strength and conditioning too that kind of goes that way, where the exercises might not necessarily be the best exercise, but if you can find the mix between having the best exercises but making it kind of a little bit more flavoursome, like you're saying, which looking from the outside with what you're doing with Core Advantage, like the differences that you're having, the different exercises that you've got going on now, I think that's like a perfect mix as well.
It hurt me so much to like to embrace that, because it just makes I
believe it.
because there's probably like 15 exercises. We actually have a rating system that Jacob implemented, which is based on debt rating from financial stuff. So like a AAA exercise is your absolute gold standard. So it's the most effective, it's easy to teach, and it has the highest highest return on investment, basically. So the lowest risk to reward. Those are your absolute. So like a trap bar deadlift performed with velocity at about 80% of your 1RM. Like, that's an amazing exercise. And that's AAA. And then there was this realization, it's like, oh, we're going to have to put some AA, because a lot of people, and so it goes down to where stuff is actually just a waste of time, which is probably D grade. and then E grade where it's actually just going to probably injure you. So a burpee would not, that to me would be E grade. But yeah, what we realized is it was actually okay to put AA stuff and even sometimes single A in, because it expands your repertoire from 15 to 100, and you haven't broken anyone. You've just got a little bit more. I don't even like talking. I feel uncomfortable talking about it though, because I'm like, it's not all AAA, but it's not about that.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a good learning point for everyone too. And even for me, like I love going back to the AAA stuff too. Like just do a few things and I'm like, oh yeah, I get to go back to this and like see how much better I am at it. And just know that I'm gonna get the, you know, best out of that. But I've been doing this other stuff too. It's just I think, as I said, like this day and age where monogamy sometimes it doesn't work as much.
Monogamy or monotony?
What did I say? Monogamy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, not
Is there something else you're not telling us?
Yeah, nah, forget about that. Yeah, that one. Good. Doesn't always work. I think with, you know, the generations coming through too, because we're just so exposed to having the coolest looking thing or the newest thing. But you do definitely have to have that mix between the AAA exercises, but like a little bit flavoursome, but then always going back to, you know, what you know is going to work best. If that makes sense.
Exactly. That makes lots of sense.
And not monogamy.
Monogamy is good. Maddie, I want to talk. We got sidetracked though. I want to talk about the camps because you were telling me about your vision for your camps, and I reckon these are going to be amazing. I love the idea of building the camp you wish you had as a kid. Yeah. Tell us about that. That sounds.
Again, it's something so that when I kind of released the MG coaching website, it was with a plan to, in years to come, to do training camps. I've always wanted to go back home to Shep and do, training camps and holiday camps or wherever they may be. And it's more so, it's not, I was saying to you the other day, I hated doing training camps. I hated them. Whether it was just because, you know, I wasn't mentally prepared for them or I just wasn't confident or whatever it was. There could have been a whole mix of things. But I think because they're always like a selection camp, I always felt pressure to, you know, everyone's trying to perform and like impress the coaches. And I was like, I just want a training camp where you're just improving. Like you're just learning stuff. And it's stuff that I've learned that's helped me, stuff that I wasn't taught when I was younger, all the stuff that's helped me pointing out the stuff that didn't work for me. But that's my own journey. Like what worked for me mightn't have worked for someone else. But yeah, just
there is a gap. Sorry to interrupt, but there is a gap there where like 99% of coaches that an athlete's going to be exposed to didn't play professionally. And then even a significant proportion of coaches still to this day, it still blows my mind. There are coaches, and this is not a knock against them at all, but this is interesting. There are coaches that didn't play basketball themselves, coaching basketball.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be able to teach you the kind of stuff that you've learned as well. So there's definitely a gap there. Sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
No, fine. That's a great point too. And I think also just from like with the mentoring stuff that I'm doing, obviously been through a lot of things that just everyday things as well. So putting myself, a country girl who's been playing, been around the world playing for Australia, and going back to, I go through these things. I've been through these things like, everyone else does. So putting other people on the same kind of level as me. But yeah, the basic idea around it is to do, these camps that are just fun. They're things that I'm passionate about, things that help me, and the way that I enjoyed coaching as well. So I think that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, we're going to be a tiny little part of them as well. We can't wait to be supporting with some athletic development stuff. I think it's going to be a really fun project.
I think it'd be great. It's obviously there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be put into it, and probably start off very basic. but the idea of it, once we get it rolling, or once I get it rolling, I should say, to go into bigger things and more elite things as well. But just like anything, just starting basic and going from there.
No, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. Now you've been so generous with your time, so I'm going to wrap up soon. But I just want to ask you, really, the last thing is, I guess, what's next? So you mentioned at the start, you've come back, you're stuck in the quarantine. Oh, two things. I want to hear about what exercise you're doing in the hotel, if any, and then what's next.
No exercise. No, I'm kidding. I did take a few days off just to relax, also kind of celebrate, the achievements that have happened, and just kind of really sit with some thoughts and some feelings for a few days. But we have a spin bike in here that we got ordered in, and also a few free weights, the adjustable ones. Not like the ones, great, yeah. not the power blocks, just the typical, twist.
Do you have the screw-on ones where you got to screw the thing on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still better than nothing.
Yeah, no, it's great. I ordered in a skipping rope, and I've been doing a few F45 sessions. So something different. You'll love that. They have a lot of burpees in them.
Okay, good.
But that's just something different. Like I haven't done a whole lot of F45 because it's not like in a basketball season, it's probably something that we wouldn't do much. The exercises that
It's funny. I saw it on your Instagram, and I was like, "You what?" And I'm like, "Well, she's in quarantine. All right, I'll."
Yeah, I've got a basketball here, but I'm very conscious of the people around and up and below. They hear me bouncing a ball all the time, so I haven't done that. But yeah, just getting some strength work in. I did a few Pilates classes, a few bike sessions, and a few F45s, so something different for a little bit. But when I'm out, and hopefully gyms will open up again soon. I'll be back.
We're thinking Saturday week, most likely they'll be open.
Yeah, okay.
Fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
And when are you out?
On the 16th. So I feel like I'm almost there. I got here on the 1st. It's a little bit longer than usual. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting out in some fresh air.
Now, have you been? Did they organise vaccination for you? Have you had vaccination or not?
We've had one. We had the Visor one.
Yeah, okay.
We were supposed to have a second one in here, but I think it was just, being in quarantine and stuff, it's a little bit difficult. So we'll have our second one hopefully when we get out at some point.
I had the Pfizer one last week. It's great. Like I didn't
have any more side effects. The first or the second?
The first, yeah.
The first, yeah. People have said that on the second one you can get symptoms of, the flu and stuff.
I got some symptoms. So 13 hours, it was really interesting. 13 hours afterwards, I started to get hot. Like I got hot for like an hour.
Oh.
And like I woke up and I was like, not woke up in a sweat, but I woke up and I was like, geez, I feel warm. I reckon I've accidentally left the heater on. And so I got up to check and it wasn't on. I was just hot. And then I got unusually cold for like an hour. And then that was it. I was like, oh, that was my body creating antibodies for the spike protein. That's cool. That was fascinating.
Yeah, that is cool, isn't it? Everybody does that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like anything. Some people get sick from the flu shot. Some people don't. Just depends.
Because I've never had a flu shot, so I was curious to see how it would all go.
Oh yeah, right. Anyway. There you go.
Now, lastly, so what's next? So you're going to Bendigo. What's the rest on the horizon in terms of, when does the reload start with 3x3? How does all that work from here?
I think we might see a change in how the 3x3 works now. Like we've had calls with people from Basketball Australia, and they're like, okay, we know what we need to do now. Mm-hmm. We have Con Games next year. That'll be the first time they'll be at the Commonwealth Games. So that's kind of like the next big goal, I guess. And then after that will be the Olympics in a few years.
Okay. Games. So New Zealand will be competitive?
Yeah, there was chat about maybe doing some games against them as well with the kind of travel bubble, but yeah, just depend. But New Zealand, yeah, they're always a good team to go against in terms of the Australian New Zealand rivalry. But yeah, how it will look for Com Games, not sure. Same with how the Olympics will look 3x3. I think it's going to be really great though. I think 3x3 will take off a lot more now. It's obviously we have done a great job to putting the 3x3 on the map, particularly for Australia. It would have been great if we could have gone to the Olympics to kind of, give it a little bit more exposure. But I think it just being at the Olympics is going to, people are going to start watching it a lot more. And it's going to be a little bit more respected than it already is. But I think, I'm looking forward to it. There's just I think it's now just focusing on Com Games next year with WNBL in between.
Nice. Well, thanks so much for having such a great chat and a guarded good luck for the season. I hope you have excellent set.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in the WNBL, and we'll put links of all of your various things, the baller beats and your Instagram. If you don't follow Maddie's Instagram account, you should, because it's funny and good. And we'll see you on the court.
Wonderful. Thanks, Durham.
All right. Thanks. See ya.